To my fellas with a lady, I need you guys to pass the device over to your lady. I'm telling you guys, it's very important. And to my ladies that actually watch my content, I see all three of y'all doing y'all thing. You go, girl. I'm gonna need y'all to have your quick second just away from Yu-Gi-Oh, just for a tiny second. I promise you I'll bring it all back into fruition and you will understand. Ladies, I'm gonna tell you something that will probably save a life. Men do not understand hints. Now, I've seen quite a few times where a lady is trying to hit on a guy or trying to be with a guy, trying to let him know that she likes him, and it just goes whoosh right over his head. If it's not direct, then guys don't understand it. Also, in that same sense, I've seen a lot of ladies try to tell him, hey, I'm kind of in a relationship or I'm married and all that stuff. Unless you say those direct words, the guy doesn't understand it. I actually have this one friend who has a game room, and his lady will leave trash in his room, like literally take the trash bag out of the trash can and leave it in his room consistently, just to let him know he should take out the trash. Guess what he does? He pushes the trash bag to the side, proceeds to sit on the couch and still play video games. Ladies, if it is not direct, then it's not gonna happen. You need to be a lot more direct. Now pass it back to the fellas so I can talk to them. My fellas, Konami is doing it to us. They are giving us hints. Not only did they move the Forbidden List to no sooner than April 2nd, they also gave us dual power and a very interesting date in the middle of the week instead of a Friday. But as you know, we don't know what hints are. We're still not sure. I'm pretty sure they're still not sure. They're just like our ladies. They can't decide between chicken and steak tonight. They're not 100% sure. So what we're going to do is take matters into our own hands. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys the perfect Forbidden List for the April 2nd, 2019 format. And of course, I want you guys to chime in down below in the comment section. What are your Forbidden List predictions? Or what do you think would be a better add-on to this Forbidden List? I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see... I'm TheCaliEffect. We're not doing this again. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, they're going to destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. Also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also, a mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Elaine Lopez. Please make sure you add yourself to that Discord, as well as message me or Jest so we can get you into the top dogs so you can take advantage of all your rewards. Without further ado, I present to you the best Forbidden List for April 2019, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this party started. This is not a prediction list, ladies and gentlemen. This is an attempt to make the format as balanced as possible by making as many decks competitive as possible. I understand that Konami is a business, and of course they're going to make business moves by limiting or banning certain cards that no longer make them profits. In this list, we're gonna forego all of their business decisions and try our best to make a balanced format. So starting off with the banned cards, ladies and gentlemen, actually, before we even start off with the banned cards, I know you guys probably want to see a true prediction list. And I tell you guys what, past April 2nd, if we don't get our Forbidden List, and if you guys want to see a prediction list by TheCaliEffect, yours truly, go ahead and like this video and post down below in the comment section. After that is passed, and if we don't have a Forbidden List, I'll go ahead and make a prediction list, and then when the real list comes out, we can see how wrong we were. So starting off with the Forbidden cards, there are going to be 3 cards on the Forbidden List, one being Wind Up Hunter, the next being Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, and the last being Rank Up Magic Launch. Now let's get into the more controversial Forbidden card, and I know you guys are probably screeching at me right now, CaliEffect, why did you ban Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon? Well, it would be pretty hypocritical of us to ban Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon and then complain about all of the hits of Konami of the past. For example, Konami banned Wind Up Carriers and Matey instead of banning Wind Up Hunter when we know who was the true problematic card. Konami limited B-Buster Drake instead of banning Firewall Dragon because of FTKs. The list can go on so far. It would be very hypocritical of us not to ban Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, which is the perpetrator of the Red Eyes FTK, and then just going around and banning Summon Sorceress, Agave Dragon, or Galanduo. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't want the card to be banned, but I understand that it is the perpetrator, and even without this specific setup, Red Eyes can probably find another way to FTK because it does have infinite burn damage. The next banned card is Rank Up Magic Launch. Rank Up Magic Argent, whatever it's called. Rank Up Magic Launch isn't necessarily a terrible card on its own right, but when you start to notice that danger monsters kind of propel it to a new height, and just the ability to make Rusty Bardic, which is the card that I did consider banning, but then realized it wasn't the bannable card, Rank Up Magic Launch is a very ill-designed card because it can make monsters like Azathoth on your opponent's turn, or DDD King Kali Yuga on your opponent's turn. It can be seriously problematic. I'm not 100% against banning this card, but I also do understand that making dark monsters like this on your opponent's turn can be extremely hard for the opponent to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And we want to be able to play in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game where Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be played. Also, I wanted to point out that danger monsters probably bring out the worst in some of the dark cards. There have been so many hits upon dark cards just because of danger monsters, but I can't really necessarily address them because, like, that's just a whole nother mess in its own. The last card on the forbidden list is Wind Up Hunter. We are correcting the mistakes of Konami. We're gonna go ahead and forbid that Wind Up Hunter so Wind Up Carrier Senmei can come off the list. That's pretty much it for the forbidden. Going into the limited list, we only have one card on that limited list. Now, I debated on putting some other cards, and I'll be able to show you guys a little bit later. But the card coming off the list is Spellbook Judgment. This card is insane, ladies and gentlemen. Spellbook Judgment reminds you of Sky Striker multi-roll. By the time, or during the end phase, you can add spellbook cards from your deck to your hand up to the number of spell cards activated that turn. You can also spell summon a spellcaster monster to your side of the field. Now, it's a little more powerful than multi-roll because it allows you to search spellbook cards, and it gains counters for every spell card activated. Plot twist, it doesn't really gain counters, but you guys understanding what I'm saying. And then it also gives you a spellcaster monster to your side of the field. So that's why I feel that this card should be limited as opposed to unlimited like multi-roll, because while it is the same card, Judgment has a different purpose. I'm excited for this card to be coming off the list because not only does it push Spellbook to a little bit more to that competitive place, Spellbooks actually have a Link monster coming out which can really push the deck over the edge. I wouldn't say that it's an ultra competitive deck, but Spellbook with Judgment does put it on the right way. Some cards that I really considered limiting was Saryuja Skull Dread. This card is dreadful, ladies and gentlemen. Get it? I think that Saryuja is a decently designed card that becomes ill-designed the more ways people find ways to put monsters with different names on the board. It also has a free special summon, but the biggest reason isn't because Saryuja is just some uberly busted card. It's because of the boards that Saryuja helps facilitate, that and the Guard Dragons. Now, I didn't put it on this list because hand traps are at an all-time high, kind of making Saryuja moot, and the only deck that can consistently top with Saryuja in multiple copies right now is Thunder Dragon. But if another FTK seems to arise through Saryuja, we definitely have to consider it. Another card that I wanted to put was Sky Striker Widow Anchor. Now, you guys are like, I thought you wanted to make all decks at the same level. The reason why I didn't put Widow Anchor to the list is because I kind of wanted Sky Strikers to be competitive. I have a strong feeling that if the Forbidden list does roll around and Widow Anchor does get hit to 1, then Sky Strikers might not be competitive at all. They might still be competitive, but one Widow Anchor does leave them a lot less room to facilitate. Overall, I'm still kind of conflicted if Widow Anchor should go down or if it's perfectly fine where it's at. I think I need a little bit more time to try to figure out how to make Sky Strikers good inside of this format, but also being able to keep the other decks just as powerful. Alright, so we have a pretty big list for semi-limited. We have Zodiac Trident, Zodiac Broad Bull, Elemental Hero Stratos, Necroz Unicorn, Necroz Sharit, and Super Polymerization. The semi-limited, let's start off with that Zodiac. I know you guys are probably raging right now. The TheCaliEffect has a terrible list so far. Why would you bring the Zodiacs back? Now, there is a pretty good reason. First of all, while Zodiacs could handle Master Rule 4, they would probably struggle against some of the better decks of this format, but that's not the real reason why Broad Bull and Trident were banned. I feel that Broad Bull and Trident were more banned because they were generic, more so than anything else. Yes, Zoo were still one of the best decks, if not the best deck of the format at the time, but if you would have gave it a little bit more time when Spirals came out, then when Pendulums came out, I'm not 100% sure if Zodiac would have been able to hold its own against these. Granted, Zodiacs is still really good, and being able to drop Trident is still powerful. But I think, again, the biggest reason is being able to make Broad Bull and Trident for free. Nowadays in Yu-Gi-Oh!, every single spot in the extra deck matters. Being able to have that one disruption inside of Trident in a format with Dino Wrestler, Prankatrops, Wing Dragon around Sphere Mode, and the Kaijus exist, I'm not sure if it's a waste of 2 slots. On the other hand, it does give Zodiac what it needs to be a viable deck, a lot more competitive inside of this format. I think that this is a very safe spot for both of these cards. And then on top of that, when you look at it, how many Beast Warrior monsters are searchable? So you're literally just making Broad Bull just to make Trident. I don't know if that will go well with a lot of decks. And on top of that, when you added, not every single deck plays a plethora of level 4s like we used to. It might be a little bit harder to get into that Trident and that Broad Bull. Elemental Hero Stratos was an interesting pick. I brought Elemental Hero Stratos to 2 because I couldn't bring a hero lives more than 1 safely. I felt that if a hero lives were brought more than 1, it would just make Dark Hero or Dark Warrior or Danger, whatever, a lot more powerful. So I opted with Stratos because of its Wind Attribute and the fact that heroes aren't doing anything. Having more access to your hero cards, which could essentially give you a free Dark Claw, which is really good against the format, I feel is justified. Heroes need a hero, and Elemental Hero Stratos is here to save the day. When we got Necros of Brionic and Necros of Sharit off the list and at 1 respectively, we were excited. We thought that Necros, myself included, would be a terror, would be one of the dominant forces in the meta. Fast forward about a month later, that didn't happen even the slightest. While Necros did have a couple of regional tops at the beginning, they've completely fallen flat off of the earth. They're nowhere to be found. I feel that these hits or these semi-limits will help bring Necros a little bit more competitive. And since the deck is built on stopping the opponent from the extra deck, it's going to be in a trifecta that I'm going to talk about a little later in the video, which I think is really healthy for Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Last is Super Polymerization. Now, I could go Herther and be like, OCG has it at 2, we should have it at 2. But that's not the reason. I feel like Super Poly is extremely healthy in the meta where players can make some of those insane negate boards. Well, you can't negate Super Poly because Super Poly allows you to fusion cards on your opponent's side of the field to bring out a monster of your own. I feel that Super Poly is in a really good spot at 2. I think it would be a little sacky at 1, but at 2, players would definitely have to prepare for it. That, and again, extra deck space is really important. If you want to dedicate some cards to Super Poly, you actually have to dedicate cards to Super Poly. When we get more fusion monsters that will rely on having other monsters on the field, Super Poly will become a little bit more viable, possibly even looking at maybe putting it down to 1 depending on the cards. But until then, I think Super Poly was a good model to have at 2 in OCG, and TCG should follow. Some cards that I really thought about semi-limiting was Sky Striker Widow Anchor yet again. I feel like that card is probably one of the only cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That almost feels really free. Being able to mind control and forbidden challenge your opponent just felt too strong. I mean, I wish that all of my decks had Widow Anchor inside of them. Just being able to do all that is insane. Some other cards that I wanted to semi-limit was every single hand trap. Now, in order for me to semi-limit every single hand trap, I think that Saryuja Skull Dread would have to go to 1, just because of the sheer consistency of that deck. But at the same time, I didn't want to hit all the hand traps. I think that we're in a healthy-ish part of the hand traps. I wouldn't be surprised if they did get hit. But at the same time, I think that it's almost necessary to have some of these evils running around. For Unlimited, we have Performage Damage Juggler, El Shaddai Construct, Cleaford Scout, Aether the Heavenly Monarch, Pantheism of the Monarchs, Spiral Drone, Spiral Quick Fix, Reasoning, Wind Up Carriers of Mani, Ritual Beast Ultikanok, and Zodiac Rapier. Now, I know you guys are probably flipping with joy. All of these Unlimits. Why though? Well, there are some pretty good reasons. Performage Damage Juggler does giveth what the last list tooketh away. While Lightsworn did lose their Brilliant Fusion engine, they'll be able to gain a card that can search more cards for them and also have the ability to play other Performage cards with ease. I think Performage Lightsworn is pretty healthy for the meta. Being able to have a Lightsworn deck that can compete, I mean, who can argue with that? Shadow Construct finally coming to 3, ladies and gentlemen. He did nothing at 1, it can come to 3. This not only boosts the Shadow decks, it also gives a major boost to Dino decks as well. And who wouldn't want to see more 2014 decks? Something that this list is aimed at. I know you guys love Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2014, so let's pretty much bring almost everything off of it. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2014 was a really important spot for Yu-Gi-Oh! We had a really good format, whether you liked it or not. Necros, Shadows, Cleaford, Burning Abyss, Ritual Beast, Yosenju, there were so many decks that could compete. And bringing those decks back into 2019, those decks can still compete. So it obviously showed that those decks were really powerful, maybe deserved to be on the list in some capacity, but now that they're back, they can actually provide a huge boost to the 2019 meta. Cleefort Scout the 3, I mean, again, another one of those cards that does nothing at 1. Cleefort doesn't really hurt or help anything, so Scout the 3, maybe one of those boom or bust picks, with the boom just being Cleefort a tier 2-ish, maybe 1, low 1 type deck at maximum. But at 1, it just doesn't do anything. I mean, think about it. Every deck has used Cleefort Genius effectively, except for Cleefort's. You know that's a Cleefort card, right? That's crazy. Let's bring Cleefort Scout back to 3. Aether and Pantheism actually complete the trifecta of what I was talking about. I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh is a lot more balanced when we have checks and balances. So on one side, we have the decks that rely on the extra deck. On the other side, we have decks that take away the decks that rely on the extra deck. So for example, we have Thunder Dragon, which heavily relies on the extra deck, and Monarchs that taketh away. And then on the last portion, we have decks that don't use the extra deck, such as True Draco. So if you think about it in a trifecta form, Monarchs can easily be able to handle the Thunder Dragon aspect, but since we have decks like True Draco that can handle Monarchs, and then extra deck cards can pretty much handle decks like True Draco a little more easier, we have a triangle of decks that can check and balance each other. It's always about that rock, paper, scissors game inside of that rock, paper, scissors game, and the fact that none of these decks can equally beat each other outright makes it a lot more fun to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I love when we can have all of these decks running around, and that's exactly what this list was aiming to do, to bring some of those decks that counter the extra deck out, and also realizing that the decks that don't play extra deck could be a counter to the decks that counter decks that use the extra deck. Are you guys following me? Is this too much? Spiral Drone and Spiral Quick Fix is the epitome of boom or bust. Unlike Cleefort Scout, either I am completely right and these cards can come to 3 even with Machine Dupe Unhinged, or I probably need to redo this entire list and go back to the scrapyard because this is just a terrible list. Well, these cards being at 3, you can see that Spiral will get an insane boost, but at the same time, what has Spiral done recently? With Firewall Dragon being banned, Nightmare Goblin being banned, it's going to be hard for them to make those Yuling boards. Now, I'm not saying that they won't have any strong plays. They already have some pretty decent plays. So, seeing what they will do with Drone and Quick Fix, I'm pretty excited. Reasoning to 3 brings a new layer of viability for Infernoid. Not only do they have their go-to cards to put Infernoid cards into the graveyard, it also has a ripple effect on decks that want to use hand traps. If you want to take advantage of Reasoning, playing hand traps might not be the best thing to do. So I feel like Reasoning is very powerful, but could go to 3 just because of that factual thing. Hand traps are running an epidemic right now. So Reasoning isn't a card that's meant for every deck, but for the decks that it is meant for, those decks can shine. Wind Up Carrier Zenmaity. We banned Hunter, we brought back Zenmaity, and now that I think about it, I might just have to ban Utopic Future, which means I can bring back Argent Chaos Force. Wind-ups are good. They're really good, but they're missing that one subtle piece inside of Zenmaity. This would probably take the deck to the next level, making it a lot more viable. Ritual Beast Ulti Kanahawk is the card that probably should have never hit any Forbidden list. Like, seriously, Ulti Kanahawk did nothing to nobody. I have, like, nothing else to say other than Kanahawk should be at 5. Like, we should be able to play it. Maybe I'm a little biased because I love Ritual Beast, but still, like, when it was hit, it wasn't even popping off. The last card is Zodiac Rapier, and I don't think I really have to explain this card too much. Give Zodiac that viability it needs. If you guys want to see how Zodiacs do inside of Master Rule 4 now, you can check out that Battle of the Gods in the description, because they are good, but they ain't that hot. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of The TheCaliEffect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. And if you guys actually want to see a possible tournament with this Forbidden list, then go ahead and like and comment this video up. Also, be sure to comment about that prediction list as well. And I'll catch you guys on the rebound. Please like, comment, subscribe. But most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.